house and needs to be accounted for. Um, my intention would not be to violate people's privacy.
Mm-hmm.
And the inspection part of that, that came before the council, even before us, with homeowners.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that if you're going to propose and pass that kind of legislation, you can't target a population of just renters, or you're gonna wind up with a lawsuit on your hands, because that just happened in southern Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And that city down there is now paying $70,000 in legal fees.
Mm-hmm.
It's overreach.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I understand that you have the few bad apples. You have that with homeowners too.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have an enforcement component. Um, I'm very pleased with the new enforcement officer we have now. I've talked with him, I've met him, I know who he is. He's not going straight out and just finding people. He's working with people, he's talking to people, he's explaining to people the need for the enforcement.
So, who's the new enforcer? I don't know who that is.
His name is Lee Stevens, and he's the pastor of the Sanctuary Church.
He hasn't been announced.
No.
I haven't been able to do a story.
No. And it's a disservice to him to not put his picture in the paper to let people know who he is. Because if he walks on a property, people don't know that he is, an employee of the city, and he's there to do his job. They could just think he's a stranger trespassing on their property. So it's a disservice to him too. And I don't know why we can't make the public aware of things. It's not that difficult.
It really isn't.
No, it really isn't.
No. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I did want to talk briefly about housing.
Sure.
That's been a hot topic.
I first wanted to ask, you just reminded me, what's the percentage of rentals in Delphi?
When I sat on the comprehensive land use plan, one of the gentlemen from HWC Engineering, who was overseeing that entire process, told me, and I don't believe he announced it to everybody at the meeting. There were a few of us standing there talking to him, and he said Delphi's pretty much upside down. And what he meant by that is typically a small town has about 60% owner-occupied residents and 40% rentals. We're flipped that.
So he thinks it's 60%?
60% rentals and 40% owner-occupied. I know one of the landlords mentioned a much smaller number.
Yeah.
But I think what she was considering were the actual landlords, not the number of properties. So he was referring to the number of actual residents.
Yeah, yeah. What does that mean? What does it mean when there are more rentals in Delphi than owners who are occupying the houses, the homes?
I think what he was getting at was a component of stability.
Yeah.
Because with rentals, you have a little more transiency. With owner-occupied, you have a little more investment in your property.
You have a lot more, actually.
Well, yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that mean, though, to the community?
I look back at what the community was when I grew up here. You knew your neighbors. People were established, and they were long-term. They were invested in not only their property, but also their neighbors. A lot of people don't even know who their neighbors are. It's not that they're not willing to help somebody. They come and go. They just don't know. I think it has that element, and I've never been a renter. I've never owned a rental property, but what I hear from those that do is that they're constantly rehabilitating their property for the next person. So there's downtime for someone to actually live in that location, and there's a cost involved to constantly, and I don't believe you'd have that in owner-occupied. I believe that what people are looking for that want to be here are looking for owner-occupied single-family dwellings on an ample parcel of land to have some yard.
So do you think being more owner-occupied rather than less would help draw people, residents to Delphi?
I'm not sure how it would impact the draw, but I think it would impact the stay power.
Yeah.
Of people staying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be quiet now.
No, I know that a lot of the grandiose plans the current administration has been to go large with multi-level apartment complexes,
Mhm.
and focus more on rental properties. She has catered and shown partiality to a developer from outside of the city who wants to come in and build duplexes. Duplexes are nice in their place, but when you're allowing a developer to basically upset the dynamic of a neighborhood
Mhm.
for his financial gain, that's wrong. And the council, when those individuals that live there and don't want their neighborhood completely turned upside down
Mhm.
try to speak, they're treated as if the decision's already made. I hear you, but. What does that statement say to someone? I hear you, but my mind's made up. Your concerns don't matter. I've been back to those residents. I worked with them when this whole legislation came about in this neighborhood. One of the members of the BZA was out there measuring the road. He helped us develop a document to take before the city council. They were scared to death. These gentlemen, they're not public speakers. They stood up for themselves, and their concerns fell on deaf ears.
Mhm.
And the decisions are already made before those meetings even occur. That's a problem. Very seldom is legislation questioned, challenged, or tabled.
Mhm.
It's just pushed through.
Mhm. And so, do you think Delphi needs an area plan commission of
No.
its own?
No. Well, according to the mayor, the population of Delphi hasn't grown in the last 100 years, even though it's gone from, if you look at census reports from 1920 to 2020, it's grown about 900 people.
Uh-huh.
But what we've done in the past, until the past couple of years, has worked. All of this spot zoning needs to stop because it is preferential treatment.
Mhm. But even if it goes through the area plan commission, the county, where the city has someone appointed to the area plan commission,
Correct.
it's still, when it comes to zoning, the city council is the body that
The final
approves
decision. Yeah.
approves it or
Yeah.
does not.
Yep. And they've always approved
Mhm.
everything that's come through, even when it came through with a non-favorable recommendation
Mhm.
from the Area Plan Commission.
Mhm.
The mayor has the veto power. She's never vetoed anything because she drove a lot of that legislation from the very beginning by attending APC meetings with developers and speaking in their favor.
Mhm.
And again, I don't know what the return on investment is for the city there.
Mhm.
It seems like it's return on investment for that developer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I do want to make a point that, I've already talked a little bit about my two opponents, and I don't see Mr. Seward having the stamina, the knowledge, to operate the city with everything that needs to be done. I don't. I believe that Mr. Yates would give us 4 more years of what we've already had, and we can't afford that. I'm not coming in with a personal agenda. I don't have pet projects. I have a heart for families and children. I do believe that the city needs to engage some kind of a more substantial wellness and health programming through our Parks Department, just to make more opportunities available for people to have those places together to socialize. We lost a lot of that during COVID, and I teach, so I see in our children and I see in our families that people have been isolated and there's some disconnect, and it would be nice to get back to just having people have some of those opportunities. I talked to the seniors. I talked with a couple of the ladies that are actually employed down there, And I explained to them, I've already met with the school superintendent and talked with her that I want to work very closely with her to make those connections, because our youth is a wealth of knowledge, our seniors are a wealth of wisdom. And there are ways to make that connection and network those two groups of people that can benefit both. It doesn't cost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
There are students at the high school that'd be more than willing to go to the community center and offer some free technology
Mm-hmm.
coursework, an art class, something to use their knowledge to give back. We have to raise a generation of leaders, and we need to afford them the opportunities to get out there and use their talents
Mm-hmm.
if they want that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have anything to close with? Do you have a closing?
I think I would just say that my government leadership will be also geared towards service. I will not have a mentality of hurry up and waste, which this administration has run for years. I do believe that I am the best candidate, not just because I'm running, but because I'm prepared. I'm knowledgeable, I'm experienced, I'm not afraid to take the heat, I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I am going into this with the heart of the community at the forefront and focus of mounting this campaign. And I just believe I'm the best qualified candidate to move the city forward for the next 4 years.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We've been here a little, that's pretty, we've been going at it pretty good, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.